Hey guys, another cold and wet day out here. Got some sleet coming down. Not a whole lot, but hopefully it doesn't. I don't think we can hear it too bad on the roof, so hopefully it doesn't. I've noticed this camera does pick up sound real well. When it's raining, you can hear it beating off the roof. Sleeting it will too. The heater's running, so it's probably drowning it out. But we're gonna get back to the 5.4 build. I do have something I want to look at and show you guys, and get the tripod set up. Get into that. First thing we're gonna do is probably get on to getting the oil pump and the pickup tube installed and measured. Make sure we got good clearance on the from the pickup to the pan. There was a spot in this cylinder that was kind of rough. It was actually making the rings click. And I did take a stone and I stoned it with basically the stone off the hone. It feels like it's completely gone now. So. But even this block was lightly honed from the machine shop, so even their honing didn't catch that. There was, I'm trying to find it, having a hard time. I guess that's a good sign though. I can see where I kind of lightly honed, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't this hole. I know it was one of the front holes. But I'll put the camera down, get the tripod set up. While I'm sitting here, we'll look at this deck real quick too, real fast. See if it'll focus in. It's not the smoothest machining job in the world. Does it meet the RA of an MLS gasket? It's going to be on the border. And that's just from years of messing with this stuff. I kind of know. See there, I got a little paint. You can see the marks in it. So this is from a reputable machine shop. I've had them do work for me before. I'm gonna look at these head gaskets and we're gonna make a decision whether we rerun the copper head gasket that came off of it, the Titan ICSs, or if we go MLS. I've got both, so more to come. So the first part of this, we put the oil pump on, and I just kind of roughly align the gear to the crank, flats in the crank. And it pretty well slides on. Again, make sure everything's clean. I already cleaned things. About 4 bolts. One of the bolts is longer than the others. It does hold the timing, the chain guide. Three of them are the same length. And then you've got this one longer one. Make sure you get that. So right here is actually the old timing chain guide bolt and part of the chain guide, and I'll show you that here in a second. So I know this one isn't the long one. You've got this guide pin here. You know this one isn't the long one. This one probably isn't going to be the long one either. This one's going to be the long one. It holds that guide. I don't have that guide just yet, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna snug these down, finger tight, Get ready to put the pickup tube on. But it's pretty error proof, you can't really mess it up. Find the pickup tube. I'm gonna find the pickup tube, make sure it's clean. It's another key on the oil pan soaked right now, a little bit of acetone to make sure it's clean. Ran some acetone through the pickup. Make sure it's good and clean. Put your stand block in place. If you're doing assembly or disassembly or assembly and you're not really comfortable with it, if you've never done this before and you're trying to tackle this, one thing you can do that makes it kind of simple is when you take a bolt out, put it back. Like if I took this apart, just put the bolt back where it came from. It helps when you put things back together. This build is really going to challenge me in that, I'll put a little bit of oil on my finger and roll this over in real quick, but this build's gonna challenge me in that this car has been sitting here apart, I think over 2 years. I really don't know the exact date. I took it apart. Some of the bolts I put back in their place, some of them I didn't. This, I've actually got a nut under this to space it up from the last time I had this thing apart. But that'll help. Put your bolts back where they came out of. Helps you put things back together. Let's get this thing started. It's a little tighter than I want it to be. Again, I'm just snugging down to check clearances right now. Double check everything. Pickup's good and seated against the pump. Find my straight edge. Should have already had that laying out. And really, I just want to measure from the pickup down to the block. And we'll do the same thing on the oil pan. Add in the gasket thickness. Six and 7/16 on that side, and 6 and an 1/8 on this side. So this pickup is actually laid over just a little bit towards one side. It's probably because of this spacer I've got under here. And I've just sort of snug things down. That isn't bad. So, do the block next. I'm going to use a smaller measurement. So I'm going to finish up this oil pan video real quick. I did some measuring. I ended up pulling this spacer out. You want to, I think it's 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch of a gap between the bottom of this and the pan. So I can't remember what the measurements were in the video, but it was going to be basically equal. So right now I've got, on this side, I've got 6 and 1/16, and over here I've got 5 and 15/16. So I basically got that 1/4 inch, because off of here it's, or down to the bottom of the pan, it's a little bit over 6 1/4. So I've got my 1/4 clearance. I want to get the pan on. I already tightened up the oil pump bolts. I cleaned the pan, inside and out. A little bit of dirt left on the out. Got everything good and cleaned up. This is the gasket I used last time. It is reusable. I think you can get a GT500 gasket that has a windage tray with it. I would recommend doing that. Especially if you've got a stock pan. This is a Canton 7-quart pan. And I don't fill it up to the full line. I will only fill this motor till it barely touches the dipstick. I'll get it up usually to about, the most I'll run it is the bottom fill line on the stick. So I won't fill the thing all the way back up to its normal level. So that way it keeps down on windage, just because I keep the oil lower in here with the bigger sump. So and it's done good. I haven't had too much of a problem. This is a little bit more of a pain in the butt to get into the K-member when you're dropping the engine, especially these wider 5.4s. And I'm going to do a video on 5.4s, specifically swaps, of what I've done, what I've swapped in before, what I've swapped out, and let you guys know that stuff, because I think that's pretty important. I'm actually contemplating in the back of my mind, I'm going to go ahead and build this engine. I want to see how it performs. I want to see what it does in naturally aspirated form at least. Probably even put the supercharger on it and see how that does. But I do have my mind a thought of maybe building a 2-valve 5.4 again. I like the 2 valves. With the trick flow heads and intakes, there's some good options out there nowadays that wasn't available when I was running the 5.4s and modding the 5.4s. We'll talk more about that in another video. I did want to make a point. Anytime you're using an aftermarket pan, you need to measure the depth of the pan and the pickup height and set that accordingly. I can't remember why I had that spacer in there. Or maybe that threaded piece threaded down, that block threaded down further last time. It does not want to thread any further right now. Maybe that's something I ought to stop looking into more. But I've tightened it up as far as it's going to go. It's not going to come loose. So we're going to roll with it for right now.